Good morning, guys. How's it going? It's Friday. This is going to be really, really quick. I just want to do a quick introduction into the ancient river valleys because next week we're doing Mesopotamia and Egypt. And then the week after, it's going to be the Indus Valley and ancient China. So this is just a quick kind of preview. And I also want to take a couple minutes and just kind of review some of the things we've already went over. Okay, so first let me show you the Google Doc. Here's the link, right? It's at the top. So if the video is giving you a hard time or whatever, and you need to go back and look at the presentation, it's there. All you're doing is you're following along and you're filling in the blanks. And it's easier if you change the color of your writing or the font just so it stands out. Obviously, you can't highlight things, but and you're just kind of plugging things in, okay? Very simple. All right, so let's get started. Ancient river valleys. Okay, here we go. So some of the characteristics of these ancient river valleys is they develop advanced cities. Some of them over time become extremely massive with hundreds and thousands of people. There are technologies that go along with this. So we're going to see stuff like architecture and buildings and different types of buildings being built. Roads, irrigation systems, canals, all of this stuff that we need to kind of build up a city. Okay. They also have specialized workers. As the population grows up and expands, people are doing different jobs. Not everybody's doing the same job, so that's good. We also see the development of social classes, which you might think, oh, this is kind of a good thing, but it's going to lead to kind of some negative things. Because within that social class, we're going to see a massive class that is mainly, poor farmers, laborers, and slaves. Okay, but we have to start someplace, and so we're going to see as society gets bigger, we start categorizing people, right, in certain classes, social classes. We also see the development of the religious entity. In all of these civilizations, they're polytheistic, meaning they believe in many gods. So, Christianity, we believe that there's one God. Well, with them, they have thousands of gods, and their gods have supernatural powers, and they're strong, and they can control, certain things within civilization or society. And you don't want to make the gods are angry, because then they could unleash a flood or an earthquake or a volcano and kind of kill people. So all this stuff's going to start being interconnected. We see the beginnings of centralized government. So instead of people just kind of doing whatever they want willy-nilly, we start seeing people kind of rising up as like the leader. And eventually we're going to get, priest kings and priests and kings separately. And they're going to be telling their society, this is how things should be done. And of course, we're going to see writing systems develop. The Egyptian hieroglyphics, the Sumerian cuneiform, Indus Valley has its own. We're in Sanskrit, and we got Chinese characters. So there's a lot of different writing systems that come up. Their contributions, what are they going to leave behind? They're going to leave behind calendars. They start creating calendars and dealing with moon and sun cycles. And it's all about crops and agriculture. And when do we plant these crops and when do we, harvest these crops? And religious rituals and all that stuff need to be carried out at certain times throughout the year. And so they use calendars for that. And we have calendars today. Of course, social classes. We still have social classes to this day. People are categorized on all sorts of reasons, right? We have social pyramids that deal with race, education or intelligence, socioeconomic, so how much money people have, all this stuff, okay? The written language. We have our own written language, and every culture has their written language. And that's important because now we can communicate with one another. We can understand one another. Okay, and that's important to build a solid communication so that you have kind of a better society. The development of metal tools and weapons. We still have metal tools and weapons, right? It's highly commercialized, and we have capitalism, and so That's a booming industry in 2020. Organized trading systems. Okay. We're global. We trade globally. You guys get on, Amazon, and you can buy a book from Japan, a blanket from Australia, or, candy from all over the world, right? You could just hit a couple buttons and all of a sudden it shows up at your door. But for them, it's them kind of meeting face to face and encountering people face to face. But we have to start someplace. Specialized labor. Obviously, nowadays, we have machines and a lot of things are mechanized, but we still have specialized people and specialized jobs. Sorry. Okay. So irrigation, this idea of irrigating systems and creating canals and levees and dikes, so that we can kind of get clean, fresh water to the places that we need, not just for our crops, but also into our homes, right? We have restrooms, we take showers every day and we use the bathroom and you water the garden and all that stuff. Well, there's got to be a system in place for that to happen. Agricultural, farming, and herding. Okay. They're starting off, and so there's it's a trial and error. It's gradual, it's slow. But nowadays, anybody, if you have a little plot of land, you can get some seeds, right? And you can put them in your backyard and you can grow tomatoes or zucchini or habaneros or whatever you want. It's, little kids do it all the time. Okay. Settled living. So we're extremely sedentary, and especially in 2020, we don't really move around all that much, right? We kind of just stay within our community. All right, so the river valleys. So let's just talk about the geography first, okay? So this is Africa here. I even put it here. This is Africa. This is India. India looks like a shark tooth. I always remember it, it looks like a shark tooth. And then China is over here, right? And then we have Mesopotamia. I use the acronym EMIC. So I don't care what map you're looking at, if it's black and white or any kind of map. If someone's talking about the river valleys, it's very easy to say where they are at. So E, Egypt. M, Mesopotamia. I, Indus. C, China. EMIC. Okay. So Mesopotamia. This is going to be the first one we're going to talk about specifically on Monday. Okay. So it means the land between two rivers, right? And it's considered the Fertile Crescent, Fertile Myrtle, right? So they're growing a lot of stuff there. And so, hold on, let me go back. So the two rivers are here, Euphrates. So make sure you're writing that into the notes, Euphrates. And the other one is Tigris. Okay. I always think of, if you ever watch that movie, E.T., that's what I think of, E.T., right? E.T., phone home, right? Those are the rivers for Mesopotamia. China, okay? China's rivers, I probably should have put these in order, but is the Yellow River. And we'll talk about it. It had like a yellowish color. That's why they called it the Yellow River, because the sediment in the silt was yellow. It's not yellow nowadays because of, thank you, pollution. But so here we have the yellow, and then here we have the Yangtze River. So it's Yangtze, okay? I always think of yin and yang, right, to remember. Or I use why China, okay, to kind of help me identify these rivers. All right, Egypt, most of you guys know which river's in Egypt. So that's going to be the Nile River, right? The Nile River, okay? And some people are like, why is this lower Egypt and this is upper Egypt? It's because the water flows this way. The water starts here. The water flows from here down. Even though when we visually see it, it looks like this is at the top. Okay, it's just, that's why they call it that. Okay, so the water's flowing this way into the Mediterranean. All right, and this is the last one, the easiest one. It's the Indus River. There's no easy way to remember that. It's just Indus Valley, right? Indus Valley has the Indus River. Okay. Of course, they have the Ganges too, but this is the main one at the time, right? This is kind of because this is where the population is. You see this light kind of pinkish color with the Mohenjo-daro and the Harappa civilizations. Okay. All right. So now that we're done with today's little notes, yay, let's just do a quick review of some of the things that we've talked about. Okay. I call this the civilization tree. Okay. So we started with the, here at the bottom, we started with, hold on. Okay. So at the very, very bottom, you see it says Neolithic Revolution, agriculture. That's what starts it all. Remember, I told you that without food, we get nothing. So we get agriculture that leads to a surplus of food. We have a lot of food now. More food equals more people. More people leads to new economic activity. So now we can barter and trade or share and then eventually buying and selling. This leads to new currency and new money, right? The development of money. Initially, it's hard currency, right? Like coins, gold and silver and stuff like that. And then we're going to get paper money. And then once this starts happening, we get civilization and we get all these different branches, right? And it's a dense tree. So we get the development of kingdoms and empires and city-states. We get war and increased violence and competition. As these empires grow so big and they're taking over all this land, they bump into other empires and then they start fighting each other because everybody wants to have power. We get to this idea of cultural diffusion, which we haven't talked about that yet. We will on Monday. This is when, let's say you meet somebody from another country, and they're sharing stuff like the kind of music they listen to or clothing that they wear, the food they like to eat. Well, you might try some of that stuff and you might like it, and you might actually want to incorporate some of that stuff. So maybe you'll listen to a type of music, or maybe you want to eat a certain type of food that's not normally what you would eat. That's cultural diffusion. It's just this exchange of idea and stuff as people come together. Of course, as they develop, trade becomes more long distance, right? We're going to get the development of the Silk Road, extremely important trading network. But then, they're going to start crossing all kinds of lands and going over mountains, and we're going to get, nautical technology, and they're going to start crossing the Atlantic and the Pacific and the Indian Oceans, and they're going to, doing a lot of trading and exchanging. We get organized religion. There's hundreds of religions, right? Hundreds of them now. Okay, but we have to start someplace. Specialized labor gets more advanced, right, and more complicated. We get the rise of military. It starts small scale militias, and you get military, and then you get branches of military. This is all about power and protection, maintaining your land, okay, and protecting it, but also exerting your power onto others. Government, we're going to get rules and laws, obligations, responsibilities, rights. And then we're also going to get the idea that some people have this stuff, and then, some people like slaves or minorities don't, okay? And in modern times, that's going to lead to some more problems. And of course, so many technological advances happen from back then to 2020. Okay, and we'll talk about them as they rise, and then social classes. So it all starts with food. It's very simple, but when you have food and you're not stressing out about surviving, all of this other stuff is possible. Anything is possible. The only thing I don't have here is like I guess what you could put. I should put something with art. Right, and reading and literature and all this stuff too. But that's part of the technological type stuff. I think I lumped it in there. All right, so hopefully this wasn't too long and painful. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Please make sure that you're catching up on missing work. I hate putting zeros in the grade book, but I'm going to continue to do so. Hit me up on Google Classroom or email me if you have any problems. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back on Monday. Thank you.